Hey, welcome back to Card Magic Journey. If you're new like I am, you've probably come across the overhand shuffle. But here's something that you probably didn't know, and that's that a specific part of the shuffle called running cards plays a huge role in developing your control and your precision. Today we're going to break it down step by step. We're going to answer a few questions that are common questions that a beginner might have. And I'm going to show you how to perform this foundational slide. This is a skill that you're wanting to get right. So what exactly is running cards? Or, is it different than the actual overhand shuffle? Well, that's a great question, or a series of questions, if you will. But running the cards is a component of the overhand shuffle where you release individual cards from your dominant hand to your non-dominant hand one at a time. It's not a separate move, but it's a variation that adds precision and rhythm to your shuffle. Think of it as the difference between shuffling randomly and shuffling with control. So let's show you guys how to run cards. So we're going to start in a mechanics grip again. Index finger's going to be on the end, pinky's going to be on the end, thumb will be on top. We're going to take out half the cards, and all you do is you just put your thumb on top and pull that top card off. And I'm doing it kind of slow and loud right now, but as you get going, you don't want to hear that thing. And you're just going to, as you get going, you start slowly pick up the speed. And right now I'm making mistakes here. You guys see that more than one card came off. We want to get it so there's only one card coming off. And remember, we are new to this journey, so this is going to be a practice routine or session for us as well here. So all we're doing is we're taking the cards from our overhand position, dominant hand. All I'm doing is my middle finger and my thumb is putting pressure against the cards here on the sides, on the ends, then on the far end and the close end here, inner end and outer end. And all I'm doing is I'm pushing down. If you look, one card comes off here. Okay, one card comes off here, one card. And all I'm doing is, when I'm doing this, my left hand should stay still. Now my right hand is the hand that moves. So that way it's consistent with what we were doing with the overhand shuffle. And if you start doing it, you start picking up speed here, and it starts becoming a habit or routine. As we're going through, and right now I'm pulling off two cards at a time. But again, this is where practice, and we are new, so this is going to be a journey for all of us here. So there we go. That's one card at a time. And as you get going, you're going to start getting, so it looks like it's all the same thing. It almost looks like, the routine and the rhythm is there, so it looks like it is a regular hand shuffle. So when you first start, you might do an overhand shuffle, just throw a couple cards off, and then you'll throw your thumb in and just run whatever cards you need off on the deck, and then okay, see how the card deck got all off square? We just come in and square it up real quick before we start over again. Okay, so this is all brand new to me. And one of the things that I have learned as I'm starting to train myself here is if I keep the deck down flat with each other rather than straight up and down, because if I come up and down, you hear that flop. And also when you're straight up and down, it usually picks off more than one card. If more flat I keep it, the easier it is to run those cards. And then once you get this down, make sure that you do this so you're not even looking at the cards. You're actually, looking at the audience. So that way they don't see that you're doing that. They just see the overhand shuffle technique, and it makes it, helps hide that running the card a little bit easier. So now your goal is to build a flow and a natural movement, and this is going to make your shuffle look real, and that'll help set you up for that sleight of hand deception later on. So how do you know if you're running the cards smoothly enough for magic tricks? You want to basically look for even, consistent drops. Make sure that the hands stay relaxed. When it's done right, running the cards becomes invisible to the people watching your show or your magic act, and that's basically what we want. And a lot of beginners ask, hey, can you use this to control specific cards during the shuffle? And the answer is yes. And we'll be covering exactly how to bring the bottom card to the top of the deck, actually two different ways in the next video here coming up. But running cards is the building block, is the foundational building block to get you there. Here's a few tips that can help you along the journey here. You want to first of all, try to run 5 to 10 cards every time you shuffle to build that control or that visual for the audience. So when you're shuffling a deck, if you don't have to do a certain way with the overhand shuffle, shuffle off a couple, run a few. You can either run them in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the shuffle. It does not matter. But you're building that control with the audience. Number 2, make sure that you focus on your hand position and keeping that deck squared up. And remember, we had a square up video earlier on, just a few videos ago, that'll talk about how to square the deck. But trying to keep them semi-square, unless you're not keeping them square on purpose during the shuffle, but squaring them up after every shuffle does help. Number 3, make sure that you practice slowly before you start adding speed. So get the move down, practice slow. And that's one of my problems is I try to rush into things too fast. Practice slow, do the move really slow, and then as you get the perfect move down, you can start adding speed to it. And once you get the speed down, it's going to look like you're not doing anything different to the deck. Here's a few common mistakes that you can watch out for. And one is letting the cards falling in clumps. So instead of running just one card, like 2, 3, 4, 5 cards will come off. And that's because you're not performing that technique right. And that does happen to me. And hopefully over time, as we practice more, that's going to happen a lot less. The second one is moving again, and I kind of covered this a little bit before, is moving too fast without control. Make sure that you use control, use precision, use rhythm when you're doing the technique. And then the third one is losing alignment of that square deck. Make sure that you square it up after every time you finish your overhand shuffle. Try to keep it when you're running the cards as square as you can, unless you're doing a certain technique like an in jog or an out jog of the deck, where it does need to be a little bit out square for that. Now you might be wondering, how many overhand shuffles are there and when do I use each one? Just remember that there's several variations that we're going to learn over time, including false shuffles, stock retention, even stock preservation, and that's preserving the order of the cards in your deck. Running is just the beginning, but it's a critical piece of our journey that we're on. And you'll know when to use each variation as we progress through this series. And when I start presenting tricks into the series, I'll show you, how to use each of the different variations that we're doing. Before moving on, just know that you want to try to make this second nature. So make sure you get your practicing down. And here's an updated practice session, because remember we had a practice session set up for the overhand shuffle. Here's an updated version. So first of all, what you want to do is you want to do like one set of 10 of the overhand shuffle. So, overhand shuffle the full deck, do that 10 times in a row, and that will be a one set of 10. And then when you're doing that, making sure you focus on making that overhand shuffle clean. Make sure that you're focusing on rhythm, and that's hopefully going to help make things crisp and make it very presentable to the audience. The second thing on our agenda here, on our practice routine, if you will, is running the entire deck 3 different times. So we'll call it 3 sets of running the entire deck. You do your overhand shuffles for 10 times, and I would follow that up with running that entire deck, 3 times, or 3 times in a row. So we're just running that deck, just run, just run the entire deck all the way through. So that way, hopefully, and again, I'm just learning. Decks are not running perfect, but anyhow, this is what we're doing, just practicing, 3 sets all the way through the entire deck. And then also make sure that you shoot for 1 to 3 practice sessions a day. And they're probably gonna be short right now, but as we start adding techniques and skills into it, it's gonna become a little bit longer of a practice routine. When you feel that you're ready, make sure that you check out our next video, and that's gonna be showing 2 different ways to bring the bottom card to the top of the deck. And this is going to be basically the next logical move that we have in our card magic journey. But hey, if you're serious about learning sleight of hand and building the skills that you really need to become a card magician, you want to start with the foundations, the fundamental techniques that we're doing here now. Running the cards might seem simple at first, but it is one of these card moves that makes the difference down the road, and when you get into the sleight of hands and the different techniques in that. But anyhow, check out the video over here, and that'll review how to perform that overhand shuffle. Or you can check out the video over there, which will give you the full playlist of our card magic journey so far. But anyhow, my name is Joe. This is my card magic journey. Let's make it yours too.